after our adjournment to the executive session. We have a number of items on the agenda. I do apologize for the delay this evening, but we encountered some technical difficulties, which they're still working on, so hopefully we'll get some things worked out fairly shortly. We're going to start this evening with a few items that,
We're getting signaled that they cannot hear.
oh, okay. Apologize. We still have to wait for technical issues to be resolved.
So they can't hear on the Zoom?
Apparently, they cannot hear.
You have a microphone on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Oh, wait a minute, You got muted somehow. Okay, how
Can
about
you-
now?
Can you hear us?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We
Thank
lost
you.
So, okay, so the first item on the agenda this evening that we're going to have is the appointment of a reserve police officer. So I'm going to invite our chief of police, Christopher Sapphire, up. Hello, chief.
How are you? Thank you, guys. Tonight I come before the town to ask for the appointment of Paul Adams as a reserve officer. As many people know in town, he retired after 32 years last month, and he's definitely going to be missed within the police department. He's a wealth of knowledge within our organization that is now gone. Couple things about Officer Adams is community policing is a buzzword. It has been for a number of years, but he was way ahead of the curve because he's impacted a lot of people on the police department because he was my coach in high school. So,
Wow.
and it's not just me, it's everybody that works there that's from Millis. He's definitely had impacted many people's lives, and we'd love to have him on as a reserve officer. He has completed all the required training to keep his certification current, and will continue to do so until he decides not to do it anymore.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think there's nothing to add there, other than to request that the board ratify my appointment of Paul Adams as a reserve officer for the town of Millis.
Okay. I'll take nominations.
I move that we ratify the town administrator's appointment of Paul Adams as a reserve officer.
Second.
So moved and seconded to ratify the appointment of Paul Adams as a reserve officer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'm going to make one quick comment, and that is, I've had the pleasure of working with Officer Adams also. Superb, really appreciated the dedication and everything else, so I think it's an excellent appointment. Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Officer Adams.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul,
Thank
for a lot of years of service, many, many years of service, time and energy.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the appointment.
Thank you. Okay. I guess the next one is acceptance of a gift and approval of request for special revenue account for K-9 unit. And again, I refer to our chief.
Thank you. Last year, we came before the board seeking approval of a grant that we received for a police canine. And the grant's through the Stanton Grant. That grant pays for the dog training, backfill of overtime, while the officer's in canine school for a period of 3 months. And obviously with the canine, you're required to take it to the vet, any incidentals, food, things of that nature. The grant does provide up to 3 years of funding, but like many police departments that have canine police officers, they established canine working dog funds. And those funds are to be used specifically for care and maintenance of the canine. So I reached out to a number of police departments, and they do in fact have those working dog funds. And we've received an onslaught of individuals reaching out to us to contribute money, and I wanted to seek approval to have a fund specifically for those accounts, for the dog to handle those specific funds. My iPad just died, so I believe it's upwards of,
Do you want this?
yeah, that'd be great. Should have stopped.
That's all right. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yep,
So,
that's all right.
as of last week, we received $1,000 from London Nominee Trust, $400 for Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart, $250, and Mr. and Mrs. Russell contributed $100, brings it up to $1,750. And as of this morning, we received a check for $10,000 from Fidelity Charitable Investments for Canine Nitro.
Wow.
So that being said, with the donations we've received and the ones that we know that are coming in, I'd rather just get ahead of it so that we have a spot to take care of the animal.
Excellent. Either of you have any questions?
I have one
comments?
question. Thanks. Looking at this document, it says, I understand I need to formally make a request to accept the donations. Now, if we do a special revenue account for this,
Interesting question.
I thought so.
Yeah. So did Siri.
We won't have to approve each one, right? Now, once you have the account, you can just put stuff in it.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
So this
And
is a one-time
This is a
approval.
one-time.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Any other comments?
No.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. Are there any other comments in the audience? Yes, Scott?
Thank you. Scott Fusey, 411 Union Street. I just want to thank the chief. I think this is going to be an asset to the town. A lot of towns have them.
Not a question, just a comment that the mic that the chief is using is not working very well. The audio,
The problem is it's hooked up here. The only audio we have for the Zoom meeting is through the actual computer because of technical issues that are going on, Joyce.
This is a-
gotcha.
So,
should
yes,
work.
if you come to speak,
This'll
speak
work.
really
No,
loudly.
It'll work.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank the chief. I think this will be an asset to the town. I think, it's going to be utilized very well. I think it will come in handy for other communities to be able to use it in emergency search and stuff like that. So thank you, chief, and thank you to the officer that's in training. And also want to thank Officer Adams for 32 years of service. I think it shouldn't go unnoticed, so congratulations, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, I'll take the vote for the nominations board.
I'll make a motion that we accept the funds that have been contributed and open a special revenue account for the Canine Fund.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to open a special canine fund for the police and to take the amounts that have already been contributed and put them into that fund and all future amounts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, so you've got your fund.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item up is the review and approve the Oak Grove Farm Playground renovation contract. Mr. McKay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With me tonight is John McAvoy. He's a member of the Oak Grove Commission and assisted the town, myself and the town administrator, of getting this bid out for the renovations that were approved at town meeting in November. We used bid docs to put the bid out. We're very happy with that. I mean, I think you have it in your packet. We received 11 bids for this job, and they ranged from $89,700 to $175,000 to $500. And there was 11 people that bid on the job. The low bidder was GM Landscaping, Inc., and they're from West Boylston. John and the commission met with the developer, and I think in your packet you have a letter, an email from them stating that they've approved of the landscaper. So we're going to turn it over to them at this time. We've done what we could to assist them with this project. They will oversee the installation for whatever the project was needed. I believe it's, replacing the landscaping ties, the packing underneath all the swings and everything else, with also installing a brand-new handicapped access ramp, which was, they put that on there themselves. I mean, all these drawings were done by the Oak Grove Commission. Working with the Oak Grove Commission is always a pleasure, because you always get help from them, whatever you ask. They're always there it's easy for me to sit behind a desk and just put the stuff out, but, these guys are the ones who do all the work. They'll be there every day with them, like they are all the time. So, again, it's a great pleasure to assist them in doing this. So I would ask the town administrator, he has to sign the contract, and if you have any questions, I'm sure John asked me to speak, so.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to thank John for all his work and involvement in this. It was a great collaborative effort put into this. We have a very competitive bid from a reputable company, and based on that and my discussions with the DPW director and representatives of the Oak Grove Commission, I am requesting that the board vote to accept the bid from Jam Corporation in the total amount of $89,700, and to authorize me to execute the contract at that price.
Excellent. First, I'll ask the board, do you have any comments, questions, anything?
No.
Nope.
Anyone in the audience have any concern? Okay, then I'll take a motion from the board.
I move that we approve the contract with Jam Landscaping in the amount of $89,700 and authorize the town administrator to sign.
Second.
So moved and seconded to allow the contract with Jam Landscaping Incorporated in the amount of $89,700 and to allow the town administrator to sign the contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And I will say, excellent job.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of homework to make this happen, so
We did.
really well
It's been a
done.
long process, and I think, like the results when it's done. So.
Well, it shows, and I will tell you this, praise doesn't come from Jim lightly, so good job. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Cemetery Review Committee and Oak Grove Commission, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the sewer bylaw discussion. I will tell you up front.
We have to wait till 7:30.
Oh, we have to wait until 7. How did we catch up so quickly?
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
recommend that the board jump down to item 070.
Okay, review approval and refinance of 48 Heritage Path. I have to find that. Just give me a second here. Sorry about that. For those of you who may not be familiar, certain items on the agenda have to be taken at the time that they were actually stated. And this happens to be one of them, so we'll be coming back to it at 7:30.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, yes.
It has come before us, a request for approval of a refinance at 48 Heritage Path. That is one of the affordable units in our housing stock here in Millis. And as such, it needs to be approved by the board. We've gotten all the necessary paperwork from the banks, et cetera. So we are asking the board tonight to vote approval of this refinance with the caveat that it's going to be subject to the continuing affordability of the unit.
Okay.
So that's all. So the DHCD is also waiting for you to approve it. It's kind of, both happens at the same time.
Okay, so everything has been checked.
Everything's
All
been checked, so
the-
you're
All the
voting,
questions were answered that we had, okay.
right, so it's just subject to the Department of Housing and Community Development's approval of the loan as well,
Excellent.
if that makes any
Okay.
sense.
I'll just ask the board, do you have any questions?
Is it common for us to have to approve all affordable housing refinancing?
Yes.
It's required, yes.
Or when there's a title transfer or sale?
Yeah, it's required that
Yes.
the executive board of the community has to act on it.
Okay.
And in that case, I'll take a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the request to refinance at, was it 48?
48,
48 Heritage Path, subject to the Department of Housing and Communication Development approval of the loan as well as long as it remains affordable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the approval of the refinancing at 48 Heritage Path, subject to conditions of Department of Housing and Community Development, and provided it remains affordable. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay,
Should we do the next one?
let's do the
With the
next
next
one. We
one.
still have to move through this. So, Mr. Kaczynski, do you have one you'd recommend at this point?
I'm just moving to the next item, the
Okay,
one-day alcohol
171.
license.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Ms.
Mr. Maltinsky has put forth a request for a one-day special alcohol license on behalf of the Bogastow Fish and Game Club, located at 247 Rich Street, in order to host a pig roast from 1 to 7 p.m. on Sunday, May 22nd. It is they're a nonprofit.
Okay. Any discussion on this from the board?
No.
No, I'll make a motion to grant a one-day special alcohol license to the Augusto Fish and Game Club for Sunday, May 22nd, 2022, from 1 to 7 p.m. for all alcohol, and it's a nonprofit.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. I do have discussion. I want to ensure that if there's any discussion from the audience, that you have an opportunity. None? Hearing none, then I will move that it's been moved and seconded that we approve the license from Bogastow Fish and Game for Sunday, May 22nd, from 1 to 7 p.m. for a pig roast. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, if you think there's sufficient time, we can take up the last item on your agenda, if you want to
Why not?
ratify the agreements.
Yeah, I think we ought to just do that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
We have
move.
6 minutes.
Yeah, let me scroll down there. I want to make sure I get everything correct. Naturally, I can't find anything there. Okay. The next item on our agenda is ratification of employment contracts for the police. It's broken into 3 areas, if I'm not mistaken. The police union, the police dispatchers union, and then the chief of police. So we're going to go through each one, which I don't even know if I have in my packet because here they are. Nope, that's not what I want. That's the only one
You
I
get a
have.
summary.
Yeah, we need the summary. I do not have all the summaries in front of me, so excuse us, more technical difficulty. You're a very quiet audience this evening, but please feel free if you do have comments or questions.
Wait till 7.
Yeah.
We'll see, we'll see. Thank you very much. Okay. So the first one we're going to vote on is, this is the agreement with the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Local 171, and the town of Millis. So that has been reviewed by this board, and we are proposing that we recommend everything in this. It has been posted on the websites, so you should be familiar with it. And we are now going to take a vote on this. So I'll take a motion.
I move that we.
Yes.
What are we ratifying?
Ratifying this contract.
Ratifying, okay. We're ratifying the MOA between the town of Millis and Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Local 171.
Second.
So moved and seconded to recommend ratification of the memorandum of agreement between the town of Millis and the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Local 171. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and that ratification is now done. Okay, the second one to be dealt with is a memorandum of agreement, MOA, between the town of Millis and the Millis Police Association dispatchers. And again, we have been
Okay.
working on this for a while, and these, again, are on the website.
I move that we ratify the memorandum of agreement between the Town of Millis and Millis Police Association dispatchers.
Second.
So moved and seconded to ratify the memorandum of agreement between the Town of Millis and the Millis Police Association dispatchers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So it's a second ratification. Are we going to bring up the chief at this time?
He's not here, but he is the right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're all set.
Want to bring it up? Okay. The last item for ratification is the contract between the Town of Millis and the Millis Police Chief, Christopher Sapphire. And again, I'll take a motion on that.
I move that we ratify the MOA between the Town of Millis and the Chief of Police, Christopher Sapphire.
Second.
Moved and seconded to ratify the memorandum of agreement between Millis and the Chief of Police for Millis, Christopher Sapphire. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So that's all three of them having been ratified. Okay, where are we in time?
7:27.
We still have a few minutes.
Depends what clock you look at. I got three
And Mr.
clocks. Give
Chair?
me three.
Yes.
What do you have?
I just want to take a
7:29 on
minute
my
to
machine.
thank the police and dispatch unions and their representatives. I think we had a very constructive negotiation. There was certainly a lot of back and forth, but it was done in a professional manner. And I believe it was a fair and very frank discussion we had, and I think it went very well, and hopefully all parties are satisfied with the agreement, so I'd like to thank them for that. And also, just let the board know how happy I am that we're going to have our police chief. We've locked him in for another 3 years, so I'm very happy about that, and we have an outstanding police chief, as you all know. And I think that's also a very fair contract, and looking forward to continuing our fine work with the chief.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Having been a party to it, I can also attest to the fact that it was a very professional set of negotiations, very well done, and we should be very proud of the way this group of individuals serves our town. We are quite fortunate in this town. So we have about another minute or two.
I think you're clear to
Is
go.
that okay?
Yes.
Okay. The next item is the proposed sewer bylaw discussion. The first statement I'm going to make is there will be no discussion with the audience as we move forward on this particular bylaw. As you might have heard last week, it was the decision of the select board that we would hold a vote this evening to not proceed further with the bylaw and remove it from the articles. I'm going to make a couple of comments on that before we have our vote. There were a number of statements made throughout the period this was under discussion that, quite honestly, there was a lot of misunderstanding, misinformation, and unfortunately, a lot of not incorrect information going out to the public from a variety of sources. I will tell you that this has been under discussion for approximately 2 years, so it's not like this should be new to everyone in the audience. These are issues that are posted on the website, have been under discussion in open meetings, and we've had a great deal of discussion throughout this period. They are issues that we still are going to have to deal with because we have to deal with the fact that the rules and regulations we abide by are established by the Department of Environmental Protection. And we have got to adhere to those, as does Charles River. So there will be further discussion on these as we perhaps in the future propose a policy and other things. But my point in discussing this with you at this point was to point out that yes, we're removing it as an article now because of the fact that there's so much controversy, but it's not something that's going to go away as a result. We have obligations to Charles River Pollution Control District, and they have obligations in return to the Department of Environmental Protection. And we, as a board, have got to do a better job of describing that, and I would ask and encourage all of you in the community to try to attend remotely or otherwise the meetings as we proceed forward on whatever way we choose to proceed on dealing with these issues, because they are going to have to be dealt with by this community. Enough having been said on that, I'm going to open it to the board for any further discussion that the board members may have on this.
No further
No
discussion.
further- Yeah.
Okay, then I will take a motion to dismiss this article and remove it from the town warrant.
Chairman,
Hold on.
Yes.
you just need to take a vote to open
the warrant.
the annual town meeting warrant.
You're right.
first,
I apologize.
Which is on your agenda.
Warrant. Yes. Okay, well, I'll take that.
Keep you on track.
Right,
I
thank you
move that
very
we
much.
open the town meeting warrant.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to open the town meeting warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now I will take a motion.
I move that we dismiss Article 20 for the sewer bylaw and remove it from the warrant.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to dismiss Article 20, the sewer bylaw, from the warrant and remove it from the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is a unanimous decision. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
While we have the warrant open, why don't we remove Article 19 too? I'll make a motion to remove Article 19. That's the renaming of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded
It's right there.
to remove Article 19, the renaming of the Finance Committee. For those of you who may not be familiar with this, it was discussed on Friday. I think it was, maybe it was Wednesday, I don't remember which one. I lose track. But at any rate,
The finance committee requested.
the Finance Committee was asked, and they decided they did not want this article. So per their request, we are now removing Article 19 from the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Okay.
may.
Yes.
Just recommend that for the remainder of the discussion of the warrant, just to go through the draft warrant that the committee has.
That's fine.
I was just getting that one out of the way, because
Okay.
it's right there on the page in front of us.
Yeah.
I understand, I understand.
I was in a dismissing kind of mood.
So if that's okay. Mr.
You're
Please,
dismissed.
Go for it.
So really just touching upon any changes to the warrant since you saw it last week. You see a draft Article 5 having to do with the school budget. There was some discussion as to whether that should be appropriately put here or within their budget. I don't have a strong preference. It's really up to the board to determine what's the best policy approach on this. The net result is the same, so.
I definitely don't want to see it in the budget.
Well, I would like to go a different direction with that.
Oh, really?
Just because, yes, I don't want it included in the recurring budget. I think we have to footnote it, so it doesn't grow by 4% each year.
Oh, we can do that?
But if you make, yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Oh, okay.
But if we put it as a separate warrant article, let's play out the worst-case scenario.
Oh.
School budget passes, and it's now $300,000 short, and this doesn't pass, then you have a huge hole in the school budget.
But this would just be 150. We still have the other.
Well, I would put 300,000 as non-recurring one-time school
Oh.
money, because the school budget has been able to be maintained at a 4% growth. They haven't asked for more than that except for sped. So I would put the sped, obviously they could use it, but they haven't asked for more than 4% except to cover the sped cost. So I would put $300,000, I'd fund their budget recurring basis at 4% growth plus the items we've added in, the janitorial changes and all
yeah.
that other. And then I would tack on a $300,000 one-time adjustment that is not factored into the FY '24 budget when we do the 4% growth.
Okay.
And then it's not going to split the school budget into two votes and have the potential of leaving them catastrophically short.
Okay, I'm going to ask some questions at this point, but first I would like, if possible, for the finance director to weigh in and tell us if that seems appropriate as a way to move on this particular article.
Carol Johnston, Finance Director. If we put it in the budget and we do it as a one-time, as long as everybody realizes that it's a one-time, it's just a matter of how we're going to fund it. So we can do that as long as we stipulate that we're not going to.
Right.
We're not going to increase their base for 2024.
Right.
Knowing that it's an operational issue for this particular year coming up, and that we're all aware that it's only a one-time.
Understood.
So,
That's very tractable by your office.
right,
to do that.
right.
Right.
Now, if we do that, and I'm just going to ask a question that I know is going to be asked elsewhere, the town is also suffering from this budget period. Should we, in your estimation, be funding it in entirety? Is it going to, in some way, impact the town? I know we had discussions. I'm purposely bringing it up for those who might not have been involved in the discussions earlier.
Right. Right now, at this point, Mr. Kaczynski and I have worked on the budget, so we're fairly confident that what we have in the budget with that additional $75,000 increase for the town side this particular year would be sufficient for what we need to do as a town. We would like to be able to make sure that that $75,000 is not a one-time. It will be added to the base for the town and continue on for the future.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And that the town is actually receiving a larger benefit than the school, even though it's only 75,000, since the town recurs every year. We've added 75,000 to the town budget based on what's recommended at this moment in perpetuity. The school is a $300,000 one-time inflow.
Understood.
So it's a very different different comparison.
Not suggesting they're not
Yeah.
different, but it is important that,
Right.
to the greatest degree possible, we explain it to the public who may be in attendance, who haven't heard it, and they understand what it means to do this. And that's the whole point of what you and Craig have both said. In one case, we are funding a new organizational operation to the tune of $75,000, but that is recurring year upon year. The $300,000, or whatever the specific amount is a one-time at this time. We don't know what, if any, will be next year, so we're making it a one-time commitment. It is a very large commitment. I will also tell you, I have now checked with several towns, and many towns are facing this same kind of problem. So it's not just Millis that's encountering this issue. I will now ask if there are any other comments or questions from the board. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we don't include Article
Give me
5.
1 second, I
Okay.
was just going to open
Yeah.
it to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who has any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none.
I'll make a motion that we do not include Article 5 on the draft warrant. It's in there as a draft form, so we don't have to remove it, but I just say don't include it.
Second.
So moved and seconded to remove Article 5 from the draft warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the other piece is add the one time to the school for 3.
I'm
Add the
sorry?
one time to the school for 3, like we talked about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Just
yes.
saying it, so it's,
Right, right, no, yeah, I understand.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. The next item in the list is actually within our consent article number 8. And this is basically a change to the revolving funds having to do with the recreation fund. As part of the discussion to include that budget as part of the general fund operating budget and their receipts to go to the general fund, the town would need to amend Article 6, Section 12 of the town's general bylaws and delete the recreation fund from the table that's in the chart that is presented within this article.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr.
This
Chair.
again has been something we've been discussing for several weeks. Mr. Schultz.
yeah, are there fees in the revolving fund at this point?
If there are amounts in the revolving fund right now, any balance that it has as of June 30th will be turned over to the general fund for the end of the year,
Okay.
How
based on
has-
this vote.
How has their revolving fund looked over the past few years? I don't know if you can think about that.
So since 2014, they had a fund of balance of $44,000. Over the period of time till fiscal year 2021, their revolving fund balance at the end of fiscal 2021 was $33,000. So they've not remained profitable over the course of that time and have actually gone down by $11,000 from 2014 to 2021.
But on the other hand, we also have to take into account the effects of COVID and the other
Oh,
shutdowns.
Right,
Yeah.
but even
even so,
prior to COVID.
I just
there
wanted to
were-
make sure, and that's something we all need to be aware
Yes.
of, but we also believe that this is the most appropriate form of action for us to take at this time. Is that your feeling at this point?
Well, typically, a revolving fund situation like that would be that it would have to, it's supposed to be a self-supporting.
Yes.
So that it has never truly been self-supporting, and the town has always had a half of the director's salary in the general fund budget. Knowing that it's something that the town people need, it's one of the things that the town has to supplement it anyway. So it makes sense for us to pull it into the general fund, see how it goes. Maybe there's some little bit of restructuring that needs to happen, but hopefully we'll have programs that people want to participate in and pay for, and it should become, or should be self-sufficient within the general fund.
It
We'll
should
have to-
generate enough revenue
right,
to offset its
exactly.
expenses.
It's
Yeah.
important that the town participate in these activities so that they get funded appropriately, because the staff has done an outstanding job, as we've heard the last couple of weeks, in trying to do new and unique things, and they've gotten awards as a result of having done that. So it's something that we're willing to move forward on at this time.
I'd like to ask another question about this. If we were to keep the revolving fund in for a token $2,500, $5,000, are you counting on that that $35,000 in this year's budget?
We don't know what the remainder will be.
Okay.
So for 2022, any remainder would flow to free cash.
Yeah.
But we can't keep money in the revolving fund. The minute we rescind it, then it will flow directly to the
Yeah, I'm just
general
saying
fund.
if we don't rescind it and keep it funded at like $2,500, anything in excess would flow to the general fund, is that right? Suppose we take this scenario, I fund it, I keep it on the list, but only fund it for $5,000, only allow the funding to be $5,000 for the limit.
No, it would be revenues from recreation would have to go into the revolving
Okay.
fund.
I was just
to pay
checking
for
on
it.
that to see
Yeah,
if there's any way
right,
to
that's-
maintain
that's
that
right.
little kitty, if we're not counting on it, you know?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Any other comments, questions?
I'll make a
Anything?
motion to remove the recreational funds from the revolving fund list.
Second?
It's moved and seconded to move the revolving fund from the list. Before I do that, are there any comments from the audience or even on Zoom? I assume the Zoom people understand they're part of the audience. So, okay, it's moved and seconded to, oh gosh,
Remove the revolving fund.
yeah, the revolving fund and go with the transfer to, as recommended in Article 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
Kaczynski.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is on page 8, listed as Article 11, highlighted in yellow.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick question.
Yes.
Can we have the police chief come in to address Article 9 about the pickleball soundproofing? I've heard various things about screening concerns and others. I'm not opposed to soundproofing by any stretch. I'm just opposed to the visual block that might cause, and I just want to hear what he has to say.
Sure. I'll ask the police chief to come to your next meeting.
Thank you.
Discuss.
Shouldn't be a long conversation, but I don't know anything about what that looks like, and I don't know if it screens the entire, am I going to make a fenced-in, viewless, soundproof area in the middle of our town park?
Well, just to
Yeah.
add the pieces I can add at this point, it's not completely.
Yeah.
There'd be an L, so it'd be
Okay.
partially obscured. Part of that plan would be to have some landscaping and trees there
Yeah.
with that as well, to have reinforce the soundproofing.
Yeah.
And it's not really soundproofing, it reduces it by
Right.
50%, and then the trees will help further
Okay.
diffuse those sounds. It's my understanding that the Community Preservation Committee did vote to support funding that item
Yep.
at their meeting last week. But there were some follow-up questions about this, about the about the soundproofing that I'll be looking into and including speaking with the police chief.
I just want to make sure we're not building a public safety hazard at all.
The other part of it that I'm interested in beyond that is, are we doing anything about changing the rackets and the balls? Because I know that there's been a great deal of effort made by manufacturers to change the noise, which is a very annoying noise. You listen to it hour after hour, so.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yes.
just make a comment on that? So I think that's going to be a difficult request since a lot of people own their own equipment. So you
Yeah.
would have to tell them that they couldn't bring their equipment in? I don't know how you would,
Well,
how would
I
you
underst-
monitor that is my question.
I understand, but we also have to be looking at the needs of the community who live nearby.
Yeah.
And the unintended consequences. Don't get me wrong, I'm
Yeah,
not
I
saying
agree.
it's
We
easy.
could certainly ask
We at
people. I
least-
just think it would be tough to
I
monitor that,
understand,
that's
but we
all.
can ask and we can see what can be done and what the rec department might over time be able to do, so.
Sir, I can certainly speak with the recreation director about that. She would certainly be in a better position to
Right.
look into that. and
We
I will
tried
speak
to
with
mandate
Bylaw.
quiet balls, the quieter version at our tennis area
Yeah.
at Emerson Y. You'd think I'd just kidnap their dog. I mean,
Yeah,
there
you
was
might get a
no
lot of-
open consideration to that. They own them all, they've already bought them all, they don't want to spend
Well.
$100 on a new racket. These people take it seriously.
Okay.
Excuse me. Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Thank you. Being someone who does play pickleball, the rackets can cost anywhere from $100 to $200 to $300. Balls are cheap, but there aren't any quieter balls. You can't really make the rackets any quieter. It's just the nature of the beast, and I think that's one. I don't think the noise of the rackets or the balls is the concern of the neighbors. I think it's the voices and the cheering and the noise from the mouths, not so much from the. And I believe that the soundproofing is going to make quite a bit of difference.
Yeah. No, there's no question the soundproofing, if it's acceptable to the chief, is something that we need to move forward on.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Kaczynski, thank you. Thank you very much, Joyce.
Article
You're
11
welcome.
Article 11, which I highlighted, is a new article. It was forwarded to me by Camille Stanley. It is an item that the Community Preservation Commission is recommending for funding, and it's $16,900 for the Oak Grove Farm Trail Improvement Project. So it is there and has a funding source, and they are requesting its addition into the warrant.
I move,
I absolutely think this is the kind of thing we should be spending the money on.
Yeah,
I
can
move that we
include it.
add the new Article 11 to the warrant for the Community Preservation Open Space Reserve Fund to fund $16,900 for the Oak Grove Farm Trail Improvement Project.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to allow the Community Preservation Open Space Fund to transfer the sum of $16,900 for the Oak Grove Farm Trail Improvement Project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All these numbers are going to be changed anyway, so.
Yes, I wouldn't pay attention to the numbering of the articles.
Right.
They will be updated once this is completed.
Because we have another in Article 11, right?
Yes.
Follow.
The other item I want to make note of is Article 12, the capital. I would expect that we'll be able to fill that in later this week. Once, after the capital committee meets tomorrow evening, and I'll be consulting with the finance director about the available funding and putting them in priority listing there for the board's consideration at your next meeting.
When does the FinCom next meet?
They're meeting this Wednesday.
So they'll have this information for that meeting.
Actually, yes and no. The chair of the finance committee does sit on the capital committee, so he'll know the results of the discussion. But I believe that the chair of the capital committee is going to be coming before them on the 6th.
The following week.
But, you know, they'll basically understand the rankings.
That's my major
Yes.
concern, is that
Yes.
they have that opportunity before the other chair comes from the
Yeah.
capital planning committee.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Absolutely.
okay.
So the next two items I wanted to touch upon, Mr. Chair, are highlighted in yellow, draft Article 14 and 15. These are not currently in the warrant. I know there was some discussion Friday about whether or not they should be. I had placed them in my recommended budget purely since prior boards had asked that these be looked at ways to include these within the operating budget so they can be maintained on an annual basis. But the board had some discussion on Friday about the best path forward, so they're here for your consideration this evening to determine how you'd like to proceed with the engineering and construction of sidewalks and roads and the tree removal and maintenance.
Okay, well, let's start with the engineering and construction of roads and the efficacy, if you will, of putting it as a line item in the budget. So,
I I am in favor of doing it this way once it was explained to me that if it's in the budget and all of the funds aren't used in a given fiscal year, then it rolls back to the general fund, to
Free
the free
cash.
free cash. But if it's through a warrant article and all the funds aren't used, they can still use those funds after that fiscal year.
Yes.
That's true.
So, in my opinion, it sounds like a wiser option for it to be approved through town meeting as an article so that they're not at risk of losing any of that money and it can be used at their leisure, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm in favor of both of these articles being as warrant articles, putting aside the amounts, just because, same reasons Aaron voiced, but also visibility. I mean, the townspeople say we don't spend money on roads. Here you're gonna see us vote $160,000 on roads. You're gonna see $50,000 on this article as written for trees. So they can see where the money's being spent. It makes the budget more transparent. It's not just one line hidden in the, not hidden, but consolidated into the DPW expense line. It doesn't roll up to a large total. It's a clear item on the budget. It clearly will show that it's being spent, and I think it should be spent every year. It doesn't mean that as a warrant article, it can't
Right.
continue. But it, I mean, look at the school bus that was on there forever. But this is, I think, visibility and carryover, the two reasons I support keeping it the way it is.
Mr. McKay still here or not?
I think he just left
Yeah.
a few minutes ago.
I wanted to give him a chance if he wanted to talk to it.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience who has any comments? I just happen to concur, having been involved with this for a while also, and I agree with the fact that it is more visible as opposed to a standard line item, doing it this way, plus the way the cash is handled.
If I may,
Yeah,
Mr.
so-
Chair?
Yes.
And I don't disagree with the approach. I would just, you know, and again, this has been a priority of the select board since I arrived.
Yep.
Specifically, the roads and the proper maintenance of the roads, proper funding of that maintenance. I just, you know, I think that the key issue is if we're able to maintain that on an annual basis, we can try to catch up and get ahead on the roads. And it's, I know it's something that we do get constant complaints about, and we really would like to, the DPW director and I would really like to move forward and continue to make improvements on the roads, so.
I think we all do. I think it's also important to understand, if we put it forward as a warrant, at that point, it's up to the town to make that decision. So if they do vote it down for any reason, it's their decision, as are all the articles. The funding for this town is through the town meeting, and we need to remember that. So I have no problem moving forward this way. Okay?
So I would just need a vote of the board to add those two articles to the warrant.
I move that we add new articles 14 and 15. 14 being for the engineering and construction of sidewalks and roads, 15 being for tree removal maintenance to the Springtown warrant.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to add the articles for engineering and construction of sidewalks and roads and tree removal maintenance as separate articles in the Springtown meeting warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, on that same page, draft Article 14 highlighted in yellow, This is, the board, in its earlier discussions, had supported the actual funding of this item within the budget. However, we still need the 2/3 majority vote of town meeting to authorize a lease. So this is actually not appropriating funds, this is just authorizing the borrowing or leasing in order to accomplish that. And it shows the cap on that sum. So that's why town council has reinforced that need to do that within the warrant.
It's important that everyone understand that when we lease an item, we can't just appropriate the funds for the individual year of the lease. We have to appropriate the funds for the entire lease, so.
And we're
that's what's
committing,
done
for
here.
these items, the town is committing to 3 years of
Right.
payments, and that's why it requires a
Right.
2/3 vote.
So I have no problem with that. Do you need a vote to?
I would
approve
need,
this?
yes, Mr. Chairman, just a
Okay.
vote to add that as an additional warrant
Warrant article.
I'll
item.
make a motion to add Article 14, Version 7, or whatever it is, the lease of the police car for $104,000.
Second.
So moved and seconded to add the lease for the police cruisers in the amount of $104,000 to the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and,
Other comments here, just so anyone understands, we have about 4 different Article 14s
Yes,
in here. and
so they will all
of
get
this
renumbered.
Will all get renumbered shortly.
So, Mr. Chairman, on page 15, these technically aren't new articles. We had placeholders for these articles. These are the requested zoning changes from the planning board. So on your chart, on your list, Article 21 and 22, I've simply included the language of the actual zoning articles.
Okay.
So again, if there's any questions about those, I can certainly reach out to the planning board if there's any concerns about the zoning articles as presented.
I've had our conversations with the chair of the planning board, and makes eminent sense in
Mr.
Article
Chair?
21, yes.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Lauren has her hand up. Lauren, do you
I'm
have-
sorry.
Lauren, sorry, do you have a question? Can you hear me?
Yes, I had a quick question about
Okay.
the police cruisers, because there were, thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
Because there have been articles in the paper about the merits of police, by police departments in the Metro West region to be leasing and/or purchasing hybrid vehicles to save on fuel. And I was just wondering if a discussion had been had, in that regard.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I can, thank you, Laurie, I can answer that. I know there has been discussions. I know Mr. Weiss has spoken with the police chief in regards to that. He has looked at the current vehicles available. He does not feel that the current electric vehicles are in the right size for what he's looking for those vehicles. I think that will probably be changing over the next year or so, and that there will be opportunities to make that switch. I know in my conversations with Mr. Weiss, our energy manager, he is very encouraging of departments to look at those types of vehicles, and I know he'll continue to do so. So these 2 particular vehicles are not on that list for electric, but it is certainly not a topic that will go away, and we'll be discussing that with the chief for his next vehicles. And I know the technology in that area is changing rapidly, and we're getting rapid improvements, and I do expect that we'll be having a conversation down the road on that.
Very good. Are there any other comments or questions? Is that okay, Laurie?
Yes, I just think it's something that we should be doing.
Yes, I've also talked with the chief. He is very much aware of it. There are a number of issues, not just that availability, a variety of things that he's trying to take into account right now.
Joyce, did you have a question as well?
I'm sorry.
I did, but it was on a previous article that you've already gone over.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry.
Go ahead and ask the question, Joyce. I'm sorry. I should look up. I don't always, so.
I'm sorry, it's hard, I'm sitting on the side, so I'm having a hard time seeing, so feel free to just kind of make yourself heard here.
All right, I apologize, because it was on the article that we've already discussed about taking the $200,000 of recreation money out of the revolving fund. And I'm very concerned about that. I don't understand why that's the only thing. It seems that the recreation department does so much for the town. Why do you want to take that money out, and how are they going to be able to, what's going to replace that?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually going to fully fund the Recreation Department through the budget. So she will not, currently, the Rec Department's very concerned because they have to earn every dime they spend. Now they're going to treat it like just every other town department. And with COVID and others, they haven't been able to. So now that eliminates the risk that they have. They earn about 100,000-ish a year in a good year. So they're going to be in the budget for about 120. 100.
Right.
135.
135,000.
Joyce, if I may, this actually provides the additional stability to the Recreation Department that they had been seeking. This type of change is something the department had been seeking for at least 4 or 5 years.
7, 8 years.
And probably, yeah, so prior to my arrival. So this basically takes it that last level. So we had been looking at making incremental change, but we believe that it's important to make this big move this year, and this will resolve the issues that they've been facing on struggling with their budget issues over the past several years. So this will resolve that issue, and we'll be working with the Recreation Department to, again, this will further stabilize their budget and their operations.
It treats
Yeah,
the
when
Rec
we were on the-
Department.
Even when I was on the FinCom.
They're not losing anything. This
Not
is
at
simply
all.
providing a more stable funding platform for them.
And Chris Fogarty is fully familiar with it and absolutely wants this. She's been coming, as you know, for years to the FinCom and elsewhere, seeking just this. So we're finally giving her what she's been asking for.
Right.
I
It-
just wanted to make that clear, that
Yes,
it wasn't
this-
an elimination.
This
No,
isn't a
no,
cut,
no.
this isn't a
No.
cut to the Recreation Department, it is not. It's just, it's, the funding mechanism is moving over to the framework that they had been seeking for a number of years.
Yeah, it puts them on the same footing as, puts them on the same footing as every other town department, the library, the council on aging, the DPW. They're not a standalone, self-funded program any longer.
Okay,
Good thing.
sorry, shout up in the
Good point,
future.
Joe.
Thank you for bringing that up. Joyce.
Okay,
You're welcome. I just wanted to be sure I understood what was happening, and that the $200,000 was going away,
No.
And it's never been $200,000.
It's just the authorization if she needed to spend it.
Yeah.
okay, and Article 22,
So Articles 21 and 22, Mr. Chairman, are both the zoning changes
Right.
put forward by the planning board. And hopefully, again, I think if the board had any questions on those, I'm sure a representative of the planning board would be happy to come in and discuss those.
Are we
Twen-
moving to
21
approve
I
those
feel
on here?
comfortable.
I'm sorry?
Are we moving to approve those?
Yeah, I mean, again, that we had placeholders on for
Yep.
these, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to formally vote to enter these as written into the warrant.
I move that we approve and enter Articles 21 and 22 as written into the warrant.
Second?
So moved and seconded to approve and enter Articles 21 and 22 in the present numbering scheme into the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And that's all the changes I have for you this evening,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. The warrant as written the rest of it is the same
Yep,
as you've previously seen it, and be happy to answer any questions the board may have, any other questions.
nope, that does it. I think we've taken all of our questions. Are there any other comments? Meanwhile, my computer just went to sleep. I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's probably best
That
for
was
all
the
of you.
last item.
Yeah.
That was the last item on the agenda, Mr.
It
Chairman.
was great.
May I have a comment,
That makes
please,
sense.
Mr. Chair?
Is it relevant to what we've already discussed?
The warrant.
But is it relevant to
the
any
warrant
articles? Is it,
Point of information,
is
if I might,
it, is it relevant to any articles we've already discussed?
not yet.
This is all we're going to discuss tonight. I'm sorry. No, this is it.
Is that the opinion of the chair, or are you requesting
I will
open
ask the
discussion?
board if any of you want to open it for any other discussion.
Go ahead, Aaron. But I'm of the opinion if there's something on the warrant that Kathy, Ms. McGinnis, would like to speak to, I'm open to hear it. I don't think there's a problem hearing it, but that's my view.
Well,
if it's on the warrant and included in the warrant, and
I
and reviewing the
understand.
warrant. But it's your call, Mr. Chair, but
I'm
I would
gonna-
be more
I'll-
comfortable, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll listen. What would you like, Mrs. Underhill?
We can certainly listen. I don't think I'm prepared to be discussing any further articles other than what we plan to discuss, so.
As long as it's then from an information
Statement, that's
perspective only.
Just a
Okay.
question, Mr. Chair. Kathy McInnes, 78 Island Road. I'm one of the many petitioners on the citizens petitions that keep getting later and later into the night. And I'd like to state, Mr. Chair, that several people worked, I'm sorry? Can't hear?
Oh, that-
Okay. Several people, how's it now, Joyce?
Better.
Okay, several people have worked on and signed and submitted by the February 27th deadline 2 warrant petitions. And even though new articles past the February 27th deadline have been included in the, some without warrant, some without placeholders. And I respectfully ask that the 2 petitioned articles, because there is great interest in town, as all of you know, that they be moved up to be included before the planning board articles that were just submitted, and along with the charter changes that the Board of Selectmen or Select Board is recommending. It's only fair, there's no need. I'd like to also ask, Mr. Chair, are you planning on holding a public hearing to discuss these articles?
The hearings that we're holding right now are going through the warrant article by article. We're not doing anything special to any articles beyond that.
So as is the normal case of petitioned articles being presented at a Board of Selectmen meeting or a Select Board meeting, you're vacating that practice?
All I'm saying is, we've gone through the articles. If there are any other issues to be brought up by the members of the board, I'm open to it, and I'll leave it at that.
I'd say that, you know,
Do we
The-
typically discuss those?
I don't know what the select board does. I know the finance committee, been there for so long, always hears every petitioned
That's
article
correct.
because they're required to make a recommendation
Right.
on it. And that might be the forum when they're presented. I'd like to know if they are presented, which night, so I can attend, because I'd like to hear about them. But other than that, I don't know what the practice has been on the select
Yes,
board.
please.
Mr. Chairman, I believe, I just didn't see the Finance Committee's agenda. I believe there is a presentation to the Finance Committee on the articles this Wednesday. So, as you said, the Finance Committee usually does do that. As to the placement of the articles, because I usually do an initial placement, I've been putting together warrants for 28 years. Usually, the general practice is the petition articles are the last items on the warrant. Having said that, the board does have the legal authority to move it wherever you want in the warrant, but that is basically the customary approach for petition articles.
And I will say, I've always seen them as the last items
Right.
in all the years. No comment about the merit of them, but they've always been last.
I think there's only been one, Mr. Clerk.
I can remember 3, but,
Okay.
Send me them, please.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else
Any
this
other
I
evening?
don't know if you
comments?
have one
Any-
more. Mr. Tarara?
Mr. Tarara?
Did you have a comment?
I'm on there.
Yeah, your hand
How you
is up.
doing?
I didn't know. Hi, Rich. How you doing?
No, I had it there, right. I just wanted to make a comment, on a public comment. This Friday, if I may, we're at the Lions Club over here. We're having a fundraiser, and the Lions are having a well-known caterer, which I can't mention on cable here. Very good food. It's going to be a pork header and chicken, and we want you all to come down. It's going to be at the St. Thomas Hall, and it's $15 and $25 for adults. And I'm telling you, you will not be turned away with all the wonderful food that this caterer cooks for us. Sorry, we're not cooking it, but come on down, and I just want to make that comment. Thank you very much, and
What
have
are
a great
the
night.
hours for that,
I
please?
don't need any more meetings tonight. Oh, my God.
Mr. Tarara, can you, I think I have the information, but could you send the information again for that, and I can get that out for you?
Sure, it's all posted all over town, but I'll send it
Yeah.
again to you. I'll give you an email so you can
Yes.
put it on the,
Yes.
if you want it, I can read it out now, but I don't want to
Please.
take up any more of your
Go
time.
ahead, read it out.
Go right ahead,
Yeah,
please.
read
Go
it for
ahead.
us.
You can
All
read it.
right, stand by, please. Thank you.
Here's your plug.
you all know I work for Dover and Sherburne doing all their meetings, and I've done about 15 of their meetings this week.
I would just like to add a little information too, Rick, if I could, that the Lions are raising money for a sign that's going to go out in front of Town Hall. I don't know if residents are aware that the sign that was out here where we put the letters on is not owned by the town, but in fact was a donation from the Lions. And they are working diligently to try to raise money again to put a sign out there, the electronic sign like we see in our neighboring town of Medway. I think it would be a wonderful addition, and so anything anybody can do to contribute or help the Lions, I'm doing a side plug.
Oh, that's a nice, thank you very much. Yes, it's a brochetta, and it's a chicken dinner. It's on Friday, April 1st, from 6 to 9 p.m. at St. Thomas Lodge Hall. Adults are $25 and or 2 for $45. Children of 12 or under are 15. So you can purchase the tickets through the MillersLionsClub.org or send a check to P.O. Box 247, Millis, Mass. And I hope to see you there. I'll be there and setting it up and helping the caterer organize this. So thank you very much, and you have a great night, everybody, and thank you for the meeting.
You get a lot of attendees. We'll see you there.
Okay. Good night now.
Thank you. Okay, since my computer went to sleep, I don't even know what I'm
How about
looking
this?
at.
I move we adjourn.
That's perfect.
Wait a second.
okay.
Okay, Scott.
Don't you have to close the warrant?
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
We will, don't worry, I'll get
I
to
didn't second anything, did I? I don't recall I did.
Please, Scott.
I'll make it quick, sorry.
No, that's-
Scott Fusey, 411 U Street. On the leasing of the cruises, I know it's on the news a couple times, a lot of towns, one of the towns said one of the reasons they haven't gone to the electric is that they weren't ready for law enforcement. They have to, be built for law enforcement and built, for responding quickly and stuff. So, but it's something they are working on. So I know that was one of the concerns of one of the towns on the news, that they weren't ready yet for law enforcement. So, thank you.
Thank you. No, that's precisely what the chief was telling me when I talked with him.
And Mr. Chairman, yes,
Yes.
I thank the finance director. Yes, we've been in this for a while, so I forgot. We need a motion to close the
All
warrant.
right, I'll take a motion.
I'll
to
move we close the warrant.
Second.
So moved and seconded to close the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The warrant is closed. Now,
Now
I'll
we
take
are.
a motion.
Now I move we adjourn.
Second.
So moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We
Boy,
are
I
adjourned.
hope our meeting Wednesday night goes this quick.
Me too. I hope that for you, Joyce.
You take care. Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody. Thanks
Excuse
for
me.
coming.
We're adjourned, but do you have any comments you'd like to make?
It went very well.